It's Sunday, August 25th, and I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Rachael Peart, still tracking Tropical Storm Dorian, also Invest 98L. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Dorian. 5 p.m. update from the NHC is 375 miles just about east of Barbados. We do have tropical storm alerts in Barbados. I'll take a look at some of those in just a minute. Sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. You need them of at least 39-40 miles per hour to be a tropical storm, and about 75 miles per hour for a hurricane. And this could be our next hurricane. Movement west at 14 miles per hour, and that pressure on Dorian 1,003 millibars. So here's a look at what Dorian looks like in the location of the storm. Again, that pressure 1,003 millibars. It's 375 miles east-southeast of Barbados. Barbados actually has a tropical storm warning, and so do some other islands. Again, I'll take a closer look at those watches and warnings in just a few minutes. So here's the current track of Dorian, making aim for those islands. But as we move toward Wednesday at 2 p.m., we could be having a Category 1 hurricane on our hands. As it moves, looks like continues to move off to the west and then eventually off to the northwest. Just north of this cone of uncertainty is San Juan and the island of Puerto Rico. Also, the U.S. Virgin Islands just to the north of that cone. Actually, Puerto Rico just in the northern part of that cone, but the Virgin Islands north of the cone. So we'll have to continue to watch to see where exactly Dorian will set up. If it's a little bit farther north, we could have more impacts for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but we're also going to have to watch because the rest of this cone brings a potentially Category 1 storm toward Hispaniola, toward Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So we'll have to continue to watch to see exactly where the storm sets up to determine the impacts for the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and also Hispaniola, because if it moves a little bit farther north or south, the impacts will be different. But we are expecting tropical storm conditions to Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada. We could be talking about all of those islands with strong winds and potentially over 4 inches of new rainfall. So here are the tropical alerts. As I mentioned, Grenada under a tropical storm watch. Same for Martinique, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also St. Lucia included in that tropical storm warning. And so is Barbados. Barbados was the first island to have a tropical storm watch, and then later in the day today it was upgraded to a tropical storm warning, and then they also added some of the other islands as well. So let's take a look at the sea surface temperatures. This is as of about 7 p.m. tonight, or on Sunday, August 25th. We're seeing anywhere in those dark red colors toward the burgundy, that's upper 80s. You only need 80 degrees for tropical development. And we've already seen Tropical Storm Dorian strengthening, and we're also watching this other area just off to the east of the Florida coastline that was sitting over Florida yesterday morning. That has since pushed off, but we have a stationary front off of the Carolina coastline, and that's going to help to keep things away from the Carolinas, Virginia, and other parts of the mid-Atlantic as well. So here's the Atlantic hurricane names. We were talking about Dorian, and we could possibly be talking about Aaron as our next storm. That's Invest 98L right now. That's the 5th named storm, and typically in the Atlantic basin we get that 5th named storm around August 31st, which is just a few days from now when we're recording this video. So we could be right on time with getting that 5th named storm, not necessarily the 5th hurricane. So here's Invest 98L, 70% chance of developing within the next 2 days, and within the next 5 days, 80% chance. And you're seeing it staying away from land because, again, we have that stationary front that has set up off of the Carolina coastline and keeping it away from the Carolinas and coastal Virginia and also other areas up toward New England. So we'll watch to see if this does become Aaron, but it has a pretty good chance of doing so. So we're at August 25th for today, and that's the time when we really start to see things creeping up as far as intensity and number of hurricanes. Climatologically, it peaks on September 10th. That's typically around the time that we see the most hurricanes and the most tropical storms during the Atlantic hurricane season, and then it goes down from there until the season ends on November 30th. So what's the bottom line? Dorian will produce few inches of rain, tropical storm force winds to the Caribbean islands in its path. Again, think Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Lucia. Those islands we're keeping a close eye on, but it's still too early to determine exact impacts and timing for Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and also for Hispaniola as well. We'll have to keep an eye determining or depending on whether Dorian moves a little farther north, a little farther south, that will determine the impacts to those islands as well. So let's connect. You can find me on social media. Just search my name, Rachael Peart, 13 News Now. You can also find me on Instagram at Rachael TV for any updates and questions you might have on the tropics.